I'm Arnell, and today we're going to learn and compare the future perfect and the future perfect continuous. The future perfect continuous is also called the future perfect progressive. Same thing. At the end of this lesson, I have a mini test for you with 6 questions. At the end of this lesson, can you let me know your score down below? Did you get 6 out of 6? 5 out of 6? Let's start. Grammatical structures. Future perfect continuous. Subject, will, have. So far, the grammatical structures are the same. But with the future perfect, we have will, have, plus the past participle. The past participle is verb number 3. Play, played, played. Played is my past participle. Eat, ate, eaten. Eaten is my past participle. Future perfect continuous will have been plus the present participle. Present participle is verb ing, like playing or eating. So the grammatical structures are different, but the grammar remains the same for all subjects. He, will, has eaten. She wills, has been eating? No. What about the negative and questions? We'll get to that later. Okay, let's start with the future perfect. I have 2 lines with the present and the future. Of course, now I am in the present. When you use the future perfect, you need to think of 2 things. 1, a future time. I'll say 7 p.m. Monday. Those are both future times for me. And 2, you need to think of a completed action. I will have finished my dinner by 7 p.m. Elaine will have received the package by Monday. We use a future perfect to express a completed action before a future time. And you can see I use by 7, by Monday. This means before. Is it possible for me to say, I will have finished my dinner before 7? That's perfectly correct, but by is just very common. Do we know specifically when this action will be completed? No. Any time between the present and the future time. If an action will not be completed before future time, we use the negative. I will not have eaten dinner by 7. Elaine will not have received the package by Monday. And when we're speaking, we like to contract. Will not becomes won't. I won't have finished my dinner by 7. Elaine won't have received the package by Monday. I think we can get a little bit lazier. Will not have can become won't have. I won't have finished my dinner by 7. Elaine won't have received the package by Monday. Have can sound like of. Won't have. Won't have. Question form. Will you have finished dinner by 7? Will Elaine have received the package by Monday? Let's do 2 more examples. The ice on the lake will have melted by next week. I will have finished the report by 5. You can see I have 2 things, a future time and that completed action. Okay, I want to go back to my first example. I will have finished dinner by 7. Why is it important that I will have finished dinner by 7? Why am I telling you this? This is kind of boring information, right? When you use a future perfect, you need to remember this important question. Why is it important that an action is completed before a future time? In this case, Maybe someone wants to have a video call with you and they ask you, is 7 good for you, or will you and your family be eating dinner? 7 is perfect. We will have finished dinner by then. Now it's clear. Now it's clear why 7 is important. Now it's clear why that action is completed before 7. If that future time is not important and you remove it, you can just use a different tense. I will finish my dinner. I'm going to finish my dinner. That completed time before future time doesn't matter. Let's do another one. The ice on the lake will have melted by next week. Maybe I'm the owner of a few winter cabins by a lake. And the people who come to these cabins like to go ice skating. Are there any available cabins for next week? My family and I would like to go ice skating before the end of February. I'm sorry, but the ice on the lake will have melted by next week. But you can still stay in one of our cabins if you like. So here, remember that question, why is it important an action is completed before a future time? Well, now the guests who want to visit the lake, they might completely change their plans because they have this information. Common mistake. Well, this isn't a mistake. It's something I just want to clarify. A lot of times when people are learning these tenses and they're trying to think of examples, they might say things like this. By the time I arrive at work, I will have left my house. By the time I finish breakfast, I will have showered. These are both grammatically correct. But in the first example, this is obvious. You have to leave your house before you can get to work. In the second example, why is it important that the shower happens before breakfast? What's the connection between the shower and finishing breakfast? When you think of the future perfect, remember that question.
Why is it important that an action is completed before a future time?
What I like about these sentences is that start. By the time. That's really common. We've already looked at by plus specific time. By Monday, by 7, by next week, etc. We can also say by the time plus subject plus present simple verb. Yes, present simple even though we're speaking about the future. By the time you get home, the kids will have gone to bed. The kids will have gone to bed by the time you get home. Front position, end position, both are fine. And the same goes for by. Front position or end position, both are fine. Usually when a time phrase starts a sentence, we need a comma after it. But we don't need a comma if it ends a clause. Let's look at a little clip.
By the time Norton retires, I'll have made him a millionaire.
Okay, this is a mini clip from a great movie called The Shawshank Redemption. By the time Norton retires, I'll have made him a millionaire. This is kind of a complicated story, but to make a long story short, this character is a banker, so he's really good at dealing with money. His boss's name is Norton. By the time Norton retires, I'll have made him a millionaire. We can say by the time or when. When Norton retires, I will have made him a millionaire. Do I always need by or when with the future perfect? No, there are loads of possibilities. 6 weeks from now, I will have gotten married, started my new job, and moved into my new house. At 6, everyone will have left the office. Will have gotten married? Why is there kind of a double verb there? Get married is just a phrase. Get married, got married, gotten married. So it might look like a double verb, but it's not. And when we use a future perfect, you don't have to use that future time in the same sentence. Child, do you think my drawing will be here tomorrow? No, it will have been washed away. It will have been washed away. It's not necessary for me to say by tomorrow because the time is already clear. Will have been washed. Is this a double verb? This is a future perfect passive. It's the passive voice. You don't need to know the passive voice to understand today's lesson, but I'll give you the video link down below so you can watch it if you want to. Can I just use the future simple? Sometimes, yes. Elaine will have received the package by Monday. Elaine will receive the package by Monday. In this case, there is no difference. It's clear the package will arrive before Monday. But these two tenses are not always interchangeable. Let's compare. At 6, everyone will have left the office. At 6, everyone will leave the office. When we use a future perfect, it's clear the actions happen before the time. With the future simple, this is when the action starts. 6 weeks from now, I will have gotten married, started my new job, moved into my new house. 6 weeks from now, I will get married, move into my new house, start my new job. You can see there's a difference. Are you ready for the future perfect continuous? Don't forget about the mini test and leave me your score down below. In my opinion, the future perfect continuous is not a common tense, but it is important to know. So, once again, I have 2 lines. This time I include the past, the present, and the future. When you use the future perfect continuous, you need to think of 2 things. That future time, 2030, tonight, and the duration of an action. By 2030, I will have been teaching for 20 years. Please cook dinner tonight. I'll have been taking care of the kids all day. We use the future perfect continuous to express the duration of an action up to a future point. And the start of this action can start in the past, it can start in the present, or it can start in the future. It depends on the situation. When you think of the future perfect continuous, I want you to think of it like this. You are in the present and you want to project yourself into the future. You look back and the duration of the action is impressive or important to you. That's why we use this tense. 20 years is impressive. Taking care of kids all day is hard work. And I use phrases like this, for plus time, all day. Little things like that really help to support the tense. And with the future perfect continuous, the action may or may not continue into the future. We don't know, but usually it will. Next year I turn 40. I will have been working in the same job, living in the same town, eating the same food, doing the same things. I need an adventure. Here you can really get that feeling this person is projecting him or herself into the future and looking back at all of these things. And here I don't need to add for plus time because it's clear this person is talking about their whole adult life. Oh, I forgot. I left the milk on the counter. I'll put it back in the fridge when we get home. When we get home, it will have been sitting on the counter all day. You might just want to throw it away. And of course, we can use the negative. We can turn these sentences into a question. I will not have been teaching for 20 years. I won't have. I won't have. Will you have been teaching for 20 years? I'll cook dinner tonight. I won't have been taking care of the kids all day. Will you have been taking care of the kids all day? And just like with the future perfect, you want to ask yourself a question. Why is the duration and that future point important or impressive? We do not use a future perfect continuous to say things like this. Where's the bus? In 5 minutes, I will have been waiting for 10 minutes. What's special about 5 minutes from now? Nothing, right? If you remove that future time, if it's not necessary, just use a different tense. Where's the bus? I've been waiting for 10 minutes. Here, the present perfect continuous is the better choice. Okay, let's compare the future simple, no, the future perfect, and the future perfect continuous. My car will have driven 100,000 miles by next month. Can you believe that my car will have been driving my family around for 8 years without a problem? Future perfect. 100,000 miles is a completed action. 8 years without a problem is pretty impressive. And I will probably continue to use my car. I will have run the marathon by then. I will have been running for 6 years by then. The first one, a completed marathon. The second one, this is just my hobby. I will probably continue to run. Okay, one last thing before the test. Be, have, think, like, love, hate, seem, remember, own, understand, believe, know, etc. These are examples of stative verbs. Stative verbs describe states. States are situations that don't change, that don't normally change. I have an older sister. That won't change. I hate celery. Seriously, I love all vegetables, but I cannot eat celery. This will never change. Why am I telling you about stative verbs? Because we do not use stative verbs in continuous tenses. Next month, this house will have belonged to my family for exactly 99 years. Next month, this house will have been belonging to my family for exactly 99 years. You might think, wow, for 99 years, future perfect continuous. If it's a stative verb, we can't use that continuous tense. Of course, there are exceptions, but generally try to avoid that. But I want to look at two other verbs, live and work. These are not stative verbs, these are action verbs. Action verbs like go, play, study, eat, jump. Do people often change where they live? Not really. Do people often change their careers or their jobs? It's possible, but generally no. So these are kind of like states, right? If I say, next year I will have lived in the UK for 15 years, and next year I will have been living in the UK for 15 years, here these tenses mean the exact same thing. In both examples, I will probably continue to live in the UK. Test time. 6 questions. Choose the best tense. Pause the video to do this. Okay, here are the answers. Numbers 1, 2, and 5 are just a completed action. 3 and 6 emphasize the duration of an action. You can see clues like all day and for 48 hours. Number 4. No is a stative verb. It cannot be used in a continuous tense. How did you do? Let me know down below. And give me an example sentence using the future perfect or future perfect continuous. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!